I have a recording.
Okay, great. All right. I'm going to give everybody 1 more minute. So it looks like there's 24 people in the lesson and there's 39 people in the Zoom. So if you just want to participate by sitting back and watching, that's okay too. Just remember that when the different activities come up, you won't be able to participate in them. When I show the videos, I will just show them through my screen so you can all watch them together as a group. So it's really up to you. If you'd like to join and participate, great. If not, that's fine too. You can just watch and follow along. All right, and yes, thank you, Jackie. She has just posted the link to the lesson one more time. So you can click on that link to join in. But it is 5 after, so I do want to get going. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to utilize the chat box. I'm going to turn off my video for now and hide this screen. There we go. All right, so here we are, and we are ready to rock and roll here. So again, this is using vocabulary and creative expression to manage social emotional learning. So it's all about going beyond the academics to support strong character development. And you're going to be able to see how you can combine the Nearpod activities with the vocabulary content in order to be able to support that SEL learning. All right, this is our professional services team. Here I am in the bottom right-hand corner. We are always running all different kinds of sessions to be able to help you. We know that you're facing a lot come the fall, and it's been so great working with you all already. I know we had our last session last week, and we've got one more after today. So it's been really wonderful being able to work alongside you, and just know that we're trying and our very best to make sure that you all have access to Nearpod and Flocab in full come back to school. So the platforms can be utilized together really easily, and I'm excited to be able to show you that today. If you would like to take notes throughout the rest of this hour, you can do that with the pen and paper icon in the upper right-hand corner. If you took notes last time, you're probably familiar with this. You can click on that, and it can be sent to either your email or your drives. You'll get a copy of this presentation. I'll make sure to share it out. You're also going to get a recording, but if you feel like actively taking notes along with me, that's great. You can do that in the right-hand sidebar, and then you'll get all of the slides in PDF form, all of the active links, and all of your notes. All right, so now I'd like to know a little bit more about your familiarity and your experience with vocabulary. So have you ever heard of vocabulary before? Have you utilized vocabulary either in the classroom setting or for distance learning? Or are you a vocabulary pro? Go ahead and choose the option that suits you best. I'll give you about 10 to 15 seconds to select your answer. All right. So most people have at least heard of or seen vocabulary. Some people utilize vocabulary regularly, so that's awesome. A few people are like, Flo, what? And that's totally great too. So sounds like we've got a pretty large range, which is what I expected. So we're going to start at the very beginning. I'll explain a little bit about what vocabulary is, and then we'll dive into the specific SEL content that we have available for you all. All right, I'm going to keep us moving here in 3, in 2, and 1. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so by the end of today's session, you're going to be able to understand the benefits of bringing social emotional learning to your students. You probably already know those, but we'll go over kind of what SEL is and why it's so important to include in your curriculum. And then we'll talk about being able to find and access lessons that can be used with students, both in Nearpod and in Flocab, anywhere, anytime. And remember that you can always launch Nearpod lessons for students in both live and student-paced mode. And then you can incorporate utilizing all that great Flocab content as well. So let's take a minute to do just a quick breathing activity. So when we're starting to think about social emotional learning, some of that comes with a lot of mindfulness and meditation. So it's an early Thursday morning. Let's go ahead and take a minute to do this activity together. I am going to pause it on your device and just play it on mine. And you can follow along and do this breathing activity with me if you'd like.
Take a deep breath. Inhale.
Hold your lungs full for 4 seconds. Now exhale. Hold your lungs empty for 4 seconds. And try it again. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold.
All right. So great way to get our day started with that breathing activity. But when we think about that, let's think about how it felt. So how did you feel during the box breathing activity? And why do you think it is important to build positive, safe, and empowering learning environments for our students? You can go ahead and submit your responses to this prompt in the Collaborate board, or thinking about utilizing techniques like breathing and mindfulness and meditation to really start to encourage those SEL skills. So go ahead and submit your response to the Collaborate board. I'll give everybody about a minute to do that. If you've never used the Collaborate board, you can upload both text and images in the bottom text bar of your screen. And as soon as you post those thoughts or ideas, then they will go live on the Collaborate board. Awesome. Yeah, so you felt present, relaxed and focused, calm, absolutely relaxed. Students need to be able to deal with stress and anxiety, and this will definitely help. Yep. As we've all been living in this crazy, wacky world, that is a huge, that's a huge thing, right? So as adults, we feel all those feelings, but obviously so do students, and they need sometimes explicit instruction to help them learn the tools to be able to deal with all of those emotions. So text sets the tone for the lesson and provides a moment of stability and calmness, helps you focus, clears the mind, absolutely. I love this image along with the words that you submitted. So you felt very calm and relaxed. You think it's important for your students to feel safe with us, absolutely. And as we look forward to back to school and the kind of how unsure it is, and where nobody's really 100% confident with what the learning environment will look like. This is something that you can do with your students. It's super easy. They can do it on their own as well at home, but it can kind of allow for everybody to feel connected in a way while being far apart. So a good way to center yourself. Students are willing to take more chances and share their ideas during new learning experiences. Absolutely. So creates that safe environment for students to be able to feel like they can participate, to share, and really focus on what is to come next. All right, great. Wanted to breathe again right away after the exhale. Yeah. And so again, sometimes we have to explicitly teach students these social emotional skills. Oftentimes they're not getting them elsewhere. And so it's really important to be able to talk about what they can do and give them the tools to be able to manage those different kinds of emotions. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about SEL before we dive into vocabulary. So social emotional learning is really a key to lifelong achievement, both in and out of the classroom. And here's this great visual that kind of hits on the key aspects and areas of SEL. So we've got self-awareness and understanding your personal character, feelings, motives, and or desires. Self-management, taking responsibility for your own actions. Social awareness, being aware of surroundings and social circumstances, relationship skills and getting along with others, and finally, responsible decision making. And you can see that these areas are circled by the classrooms, and so that's SEL curriculum and instruction in that first ring. In the ring in the middle, you've got schools, and schools can be more in charge of those school-wide practices and policies. And finally, we've got home and communities, family and community partnerships. Now, SEL learning really works the best when all of these are working together, but oftentimes we know that students aren't always getting what they need from their homes and communities. So it really is on the schools and the classrooms to build up those skills and fill in the gaps where it's needed. So why is this important? Students are more successful in school and daily life when they can know and manage their feelings, show empathy for others, create healthy relationships, and make responsible decisions. And not only does that help them in life, but it also can directly impact their test scores, their grades, and their long-term behaviors, attitudes, and skills, like growth mindset, and being able to be successful as they go into their adult lives. So now it's time to take a peek into the actual content that can help support students in all of the areas that I just mentioned. Flocabulary offers a lot of lessons that not only explicitly teach SEL skills, but they also pair up SEL skills with historical perspectives and historical figures with biographies. So we've done a lot of really cool things in the platform to kind of weave SEL into other areas besides just the identified SEL library. If you've never heard of Flocabulary, for those of you that were like, Flo what, never heard of it, Flocabulary uses hip hop and rap music to teach rigorous academic content. So I like to explain it like it's, the similarity is kind of, if you've ever heard of Schoolhouse Rock, it's like Schoolhouse Rock, just more exciting, a little bit more new age, and with rap. And so if you aren't familiar with the history of hip hop is really interesting. Hip hop, it was born in the Bronx. So with all of us being in New York, it kind of hits close to home. And it actually started at a back to school party. And one of the DJs started making different beats and breaks, and that is what kind of gave rise to the birth of hip hop. And since then, it's really become a huge cultural and worldwide phenomenon, and it's utilized for a lot of different reasons. We love hip hop and rap here at Flocabulary. The founders of Flocabulary were really, really passionate about hip hop, and it started actually to be able to remember SAT vocabulary words, and it has grown significantly since there. So we've got lessons in all core content areas, K to 12. We also have a huge social, emotional, and life skills library that you're going to get to see in just a minute. If you ever want to learn more about Flocabulary, we've got some great videos and some things about why we've created the platform the way we have, what goes into building lessons, etc. Our offices are located in Dumbo in Brooklyn. We have in-house studios, in-house recording. All of our artists work really closely with us. It's a pretty cool situation that we've got going. So at least for me, it was the only thing that brought me out of the classroom, just because it combined my love for education with my love for music. So you're gonna get to see 2 examples, actually 3 examples of Flocabulary videos today. And I'm really excited to show them to you. So now this is from the Flocabulary platform. It's still technically separate from Nearpod, and Nearpod acquired Flocabulary about a year ago. So it's been a really, really great partnership. We're one big happy family now. And as you can see here, this comes directly from the Flocabulary platform, but it's embedded in a Nearpod lesson. So we took the link from the SEL library in Flocabulary and just dropped it into a slide in Nearpod. And now I'm able to access both. So this is our actual life skills SEL library in Flocab. You've got everything from the K lessons, from managing frustration and worry, building empathy, and learning about respect. And as you scroll down, you see that the topics get a little bit more mature. So as you scroll down, you'll still see things like activism, test-taking strategies, bullying, active listening, time management, goal setting, etc. One of my favorite videos right now is Perspectives on Race. If you get a minute to watch it, please do. Actually, and I think we're doing the culturally responsive teaching session with you all next week, and that is part of that session. So a lot of really great stuff. We also have our historical figures lessons in Flocab. So this is in, some of those lessons were in the SEL library you just saw, but in our social studies historical figures, you'll notice that a lot of the people that are talked about and the biographies that we go over connect with an SEL skill. So for example, George Washington and public service, Benjamin Franklin and curiosity, Helen Keller and overcoming obstacles. That's a really great one. Let's see what else. Martin Luther King Jr. and leadership. And one of my very favorite lessons in our entire library, which I will get to show you part of today, is Frida Kahlo and self-expression. So as you can see, we have not only that specific SEL library, but we also have SEL skills that kind of weave into other aspects of the platform as well. All right, So just quickly going over kind of how the structure of Flocabulary and the lessons are built. There are lesson tools that also go with every single video. So every single video in the library we refer to as a lesson because it has the sequence that goes with it. And the sequence is supposed to mirror going up the pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy. So you start by watching the video and you end by creating a lyric lab. The lyric lab is the top of that pyramid of Bloom's, and it's supposed to mirror creating and fostering that creativity to demonstrate mastery of content. In the middle, we've got things like the vocab game, vocab cards, read and respond, and the quiz. And it goes in that sequence as you go, and again, as you go through the lesson, and it's supposed to mirror going up that Bloom's taxonomy pyramid. All right. So I do want to dive directly into a lesson. We're not going to go too much in depth into all the different kind of lesson sequence features right now. As we go through these lessons, I'll be highlighting a few of those and you'll get to see a kind of a closer look of how those work. As we explore this lesson, I want you to think about this quote. So it is important to find additional strategies and pedagogical methods for reaching students. Music is clearly a viable option and one that captures the heart and soul. By Dr. Donna Y. Ford. So think about that as we dive into this lesson. We're going to be engaging through music. So remember that not only is music helpful to kind of allow your brain to encode and retrieve content and information, it can also be a really exciting and engaging way to learn. It stimulates the brain for memory and cognition. It motivates students, it brings the curriculum to life, and it really can inspire students to use their own voice to express their knowledge and what they've learned. All right, so I'm gonna play this on my computer and on my screen so we can all stay together. And again, this is more of a lower grade version of an SEL lesson called Managing Worry, and let's watch it together.
Do you ever start to ask yourself, what if this happens? What if that happens? It's called worrying. And it can start to make you feel really bad. Let's see how Joey deals with it. Listen up.
It's the first day of school and it's time for recess. Time to head to the playground. Yeah, you guessed it, the sun is bright and everyone's outside playing games. They're even sliding down the slide, but Joey's scared he won't know the games. And he'll mess up if he tries to play. And he wants to play tag on the grass, but he's afraid that he won't be fast. Some kids have a ball and they're playing, but what if he's not good at that game? His stomach feels bad. Did he eat something funny? Nah, just toast with honey. He's thinking of what might happen. He's worried. What if he gets tagged out in a hurry? He doesn't know how things will be. What happens next? Let's see. When we worry, we ask what if, instead of thinking about what is. Worrying can make us feel bad, but our worries don't have to last. When we worry, we ask what if, instead of thinking about what is. Worrying can make us feel bad, but our worries don't have to last. Joey's teacher comes by and asks,
Joey, is everything all right?
Joey isn't sure what to say. He tells his teacher how he wants to play, but his tummy aches and he feels afraid. His teacher says,
Hey, it's okay. We all get nervous. Adults too.
Really?
Yeah. But when you're worried, here's what to do.
What?
Instead of imagining what might be, try to focus on what is happening. See? Close your eyes.
Okay.
Breathe deep.
All right.
Focus on one or two sounds.
Joey takes a breath and wow, he starts to calm right down.
See?
He closes his eyes and breathes. He can hear laughter and the wind in the trees.
Tell yourself it's gonna be okay. Your worries might not come true anyway.
So Joey thinks it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not fast, it'll be fun to play.
And one more thing before you run off. You can always talk to a friend, teacher, or aunt, or anyone who will listen and care. When you're worried, the ones you love will be there.
When we worry, we ask what if, instead of thinking about what is. Worrying can make us feel bad, but our worries don't have to last. When we worry, we ask what if, instead of thinking about what is. Worrying can make us feel bad, but our worries don't have to last.
All right. So that was our worrying video. Managing worry. So you can see we use a lot of engaging visuals that is directed more towards the lower grades, but really can be utilized in different ways with different grades and ages, all the way up even to middle school and possibly even high school. And so there's a couple tools that we're going to highlight that would go along well with this particular lesson. The first one is the vocab cards. So after students watch this video, they can complete the vocab cards in Flocabulary. However, what we've done here today is we've actually copied and pasted the background of the vocab card and put that in Nearpod so that students can actually use the draw it tool like they would in Flocabulary, but just in Nearpod. So this can allow students to make connections to their own personal experiences. It can help build context and understanding of vocab. It supports proficiency for reading and comprehension. You can use it with speaking, writing, and listening for all those EL skills for students. And then relates to all aspects of learning. So again, the vocab cards, they're key terms that are highlighted in the Flocab platform, and they operate like virtual flashcards. However, what we've done today is we've taken the background of the vocab card and we've uploaded it into the draw it activity, so you can all do that here without having to sign into Flocab. So on this particular activity, let's see if it will load. Come on. There it is. Okay, so this is an example of what the vocab cards look like in Flocab. So I've embedded this into the Nearpod lesson. And once you do have access to Flocab, you can do the same thing, and then your students can actually access these cards like those virtual flashcards I was just telling you about. And they can both write with the word and draw with the word. But I want you to be able to practice this and also draw with the words yourselves. So I've put this into a draw activity in Nearpod. So look at this vocab card, and it's calm. And a lot of people were talking about the feeling of being calm after our breathing activity at the very beginning. But we see the word, the definition, the word used in a sentence, the synonyms and the antonyms of the word calm here. So once you read through that with the reference image up at the top, go ahead and start to draw on this vocab card. So you're going to draw the word or an example of it. And you can really put it into your own words and make your own connections. If you've never used the draw in Nearpod before, you just use the drawing tools at the bottom of your screen. You have the option to both draw with a marker, use a highlighter, upload text, and also you can add pictures as well if you'd like. So go ahead and spend just a couple of minutes using those drawing tools in the bottom of your screen to draw what the word calm means to you. All right, so far I'm seeing a lot of people drawing waves and water, absolutely. I had the chance to visit the beach recently, and that definitely made me feel more calm for sure. Some people are drawing boats on the water, maybe some trees, absolutely. A person who's looking very calm, great. Couple people uploading images into the draw it, which is awesome as well. So taking a deep breath, that image to remind us to always breathe. Another image of water, very tranquil, absolutely. Somebody maybe meditating in a yoga pose. These are looking great. So let's take maybe about 10 to 15 more seconds to finish up these beautiful drawings. Now, the drawing activity in Nearpod can always have a timer added to it. And this is often something that teachers really like to do so that students can see how much time they have to finish their drawings. We all know that students love the kind of creative aspect of drawing, so sometimes they can get really carried away, and the drawing tool is really fun and engaging, so sometimes teachers utilize the timer to remind students how much time they have. All right. A glass of wine, it looks like. Love that. Maybe the stars in the sky, beautiful. This nice river. I'm originally a Colorado native, actually, so this image reminds me a lot of home, and that would definitely make me feel calm. All right. Awesome. Okay, so great. Thanks for participating in that activity, everybody. These are looking awesome. And one really great thing about using this tool in Nearpod, remember, is that you can always click on an image and then share this out with everybody who's participating in the session. So if I wanted everybody to see this beautiful drawing of the woman maybe meditating on a beach with the sun, I would share this out to your devices. And if you're using a video conferencing tool, you can have a group discussion. You can have the students share out what they did and why. But just a really cool way, again, for peers and students to see each other's work, excuse me, before continue on to the next activity. All right. So why do you think it's valuable for students to draw their vocab words to build comprehension? And you have the ability to assign that drawing activity both in Flocab and in Nearpod. It kind of they mirror each other in both platforms. So why do you think it's so valuable for students to be able to show what they know about a vocab word to build comprehension through the drawing technique? Go ahead and submit your response to this Collaborate board, and we'll read through these reflections in just a minute. All right, great. So it's looking like giving them their own connection and forming those personal connections can be a really great way for students to understand the meaning of words and be able to remember what those words mean. Absolutely. So that can come through creativity and drawing and really allowing them to build those unique connections that way. Expressing creativity, UDL, absolutely helps them visualize. Kids who are visual learners will express themselves better this way, and not every child can put their feelings into words. Absolutely. Some students demonstrate immediate understanding this way. Showing concrete examples and connecting them to the world. The visual connection allows them to show their own interpretation of the world and it's a way that they can express themselves, for sure. Yeah, it becomes a visual representation of what they know. And I know that I had a lot of students that sometimes really needed to draw while I was teaching in order for it to be able to kind of sink in and for it to register. I remember in the beginning always wanting them to kind of put their pencils down when they were doodling, and I found that over time, students actually did a lot better on their assignments when they were allowed to both draw and listen at the same time. So students really can understand content and make those connections in a stronger way when it comes to using the drawing tool. And that can all contribute to those SEL skills as well. All right, so thanks for sharing those reflections. Now there is another way that you can utilize part of the Flocabulary platform to build on and allow students to do their own reflection too on the content from the SEL lessons that they learned. So this can be a great strategy for homes with limited technology or devices. It can be a way for students to write and respond to questions, apply knowledge in different scenarios, and connect to personal experiences. So on every single lesson we have in Flocabulary, we have these additional activities that are printable. We have an additional printable activity that our content team works really hard to create, and they're available for PDF download on every single lesson. And the ones specifically for SEL are really, really great. So this is the one from the Managing Worry activity. It's called Worry Wizards, and if you click on it, it'll open it up in a PDF. And you can see that students are given this activity where they're able to practice the skills that they learned from the video. So Jordan is worried, so he's asking what if, name 2 what ifs that Jordan is thinking about, and students can fill those in. So again, these are available on every Flocab lesson, but particularly for the SEL lessons, they're really helpful for students to kind of reflect and continue working on the content that they are learning. They are able to be downloaded and saved and sent to students too. So if they have limited access to technology, that's also a really great way to reach them. If they don't have devices, you could send them PDFs, have them watch the video in some way, shape, or form, and then send them the PDF to access. So here we are back in the Managing Worry lesson. We've seen the video, we've seen the vocab cards. Now, if you go over to handouts here, all of the printable activities are always found under handouts. So here it is, there's that Worry Wizards activity. It can be downloaded and saved or printed. And then if you actually scroll all the way to the bottom, you're able to see everything that you would find digitally in the lesson sequence available in handouts. So once we're back in the brick and mortar classrooms, or if you have a way to send PDFs to your students, this might be a really great option too for those that might not be as comfortable using tools and devices and technology. All right. So here we are with an open-ended question. Worry is a natural feeling that everyone feels during their life. Share how this lesson may help your students cope during difficult times. How would you use this lesson to support your students? Now, here we are back with a Nearpod activity specifically. And one thing I forgot to mention about the PDFs that you just saw from Flocab, you can also take those PDFs and upload them as the backgrounds of Draw-Its or as the reference images for an open-ended question. So you could have the PDFs linked here and then have students submit their answers with the open-ended question as well if you don't want them to just get the PDF on its own. So let's practice this open-ended question and responding to this prompt. Again, sharing how this lesson may help your students cope during difficult times. I'll give everybody a minute to respond to this, either in text or with voice recording. All right, and somebody is asking about immersive reader. This is actually a really great place for me to be able to show you that. So while you're submitting your answers, and continue to do so, it looks like we've got some great answers that are coming through. I'm actually gonna switch over to the student side really quick so I can talk about immersive reader. So let me switch over to the student side. Now in Nearpod, and I'll show you this, don't let me forget, actually, let me just do it right now so I don't forget at the end. I'm gonna go to my Nearpod account. When you are in your Nearpod account, on the upper right-hand corner, you're gonna see this profile image. Unless you've uploaded your own picture, it's gonna be this gray person icon, and it'll always default to that little gray person. So if you click on that, that's going to take you to your profile. Then you go down to lesson settings, and in lesson settings, you can enable the immersive reader at the very top. There's a number of other settings. I would advise you to just turn them all on, but you can read through and see which ones you want to turn on and off. But immersive reader is available. Once you toggle that on, anytime students get to any activity in any lesson in Nearpod that has the immersive reader available, they'll be able to access it. So you saw on this particular feature that because I have that turned on, you got to this open-ended question and you were able to see this bookend speaker icon. That indicates immersive reader. And if you've never used immersive reader before, it'll take all the text from a slide and put it into the Microsoft Immersive Reader format. And from there, you can do all sorts of things with the text. You can do text to speech.
Worry is a natural feeling that everyone feels during their life.
You can adjust the different like text size, font, colors, if students need help actually physically seeing the text, highlight different parts of speech if that helps them read and understand, use a line focus and a picture dictionary. So when they click on a word, they'll see images associated with the word. And then my favorite, which is the translating feature. Right now, Spanish is chosen, but there's a list of tons of other languages, and they turn on the document toggle and it'll translate everything into that language.
La preocupación es una sensación natural que todo el
So pretty amazing, really helpful with scaffolding the reading. And if you really want students to just be focusing on the content, and for this one, you know, particularly talking about social emotional learning and managing worry and how that's important, then using the immersive reader can just help them access and read the text really easily. So just a side note, again, you go to your lesson settings in Nearpod to turn that immersive reader toggle on, and then it will always be there for students whenever they want to access it. Switching back over now to the teacher view. I also noticed that the recording option wasn't available for this particular activity, but you can always turn that on when you're creating an open-ended question as well. So for students that maybe will struggle with not only reading, but the writing aspect too, When you set up an open-ended question, you can turn on the setting to have an audio recording option so students can record their own audio as answers. All right, let's take a look at a couple of these. So again, the question was how this lesson might help your students cope during difficult times, or how you might use this lesson to support your students. So uncertainty leads to worry. Naming the emotions and ways to work through it can support SEL development. Exactly, putting names to those emotions, explicitly showing them and what they look like to students, and then allowing students to be able to process those and utilize those skills down the road. Especially with what has been happening, kids have been so worried, as well as their parents and teachers. Absolutely. I would use it to show that worry is a natural feeling that everyone has, and there are ways to handle it and express yourself. Love that. Naturally, there is a lot to worry about in 2020. Being able to give students skills to cope can help during difficult times, 100%. What a year it's been, obviously, for everybody all over the world. So this lesson, even though, like I mentioned before, even though it is targeted technically for the lower grades, it really, I think, could be beneficial for all students in every grade, even adults, to remind us that there are ways and tools that we can help manage worry. All right, I'm gonna keep going now. Thank you for sharing that out. Remember, and it looks like there's some amazing responses here too. So I wish I had time to read through them all, but thank you so much for participating in that activity. Now you can share out with the share button, just like I did with the draw it. So remember that you can always share out with the red button here too, so that students can get a closer look at what their peers have to say. All right, continuing on now, we're going to switch gears into another sample lesson. This one is building resilience, and it's all about Maya Angelou, one of my favorite writers and authors and poets. So as we explore this next lesson, you're going to think about how teaching SEL content can empower voice and creativity for your students. And we're going to look at some of the lesson features that are geared a little bit more for the upper grades. This is recommended for 6 to 12, but again, could be utilized in lots of different ways if you so choose. We're going to be highlighting certain features in this lesson, like the lyric lab, so you'll get to see that. And again, it's all about empowering student voice. Let's watch this beautiful Maya Angelou video all about her life and resilience.
Marguerite Annie Johnson is her name. Born in St. Louis, 1928. Recognized by her nickname and the critically acclaimed. I know why the cage bird sings. It's Maya Angelou's autobiography, a history of a person's life written in all honesty. And honestly, life was rough for her and Bailey. That was her brother, both sent to live with their grandmother. After their parents split up, grandma held them down through the mix-up. While they drowned in the sea of grief, that's a metaphor, using words figuratively. But when they moved back, it got worse, seriously. Maya was abused by her mother's boyfriend. She told her brother, who told the family about the torment. He was later found dead. Maya, filled with fear, she blamed herself and didn't speak again for 5 years. Suffered as a child and dealt with abuse. That did not determine who she was, that's just the ugly truth. Took the story of her life and put it to good use, cause still I rise. Yup, when you believe in the power of words, you can overcome the pain by reversing the hurt. Turn the loss to a gain if you stick to the plan, cause still I rise. Maya had a teacher named Mrs. Flowers, who brought her books to read, and the knowledge she devoured. Reading gave her courage to find a voice again, but obstacles remained time and time again. On top of being poor, she dealt with racism. Segregated schools caused frustration. Raised by the KKK, with her back against the wall, Maya had to take it day by day. She became a single mom at 17, and so that she could support her son, became a working machine. A waitress, a singer, a dancer, an actress, a cook, a civil rights activist, but most recognized for her memoir. She was brilliant, creating powerful stories of resilience. Her books and poems filled with figurative language like similes, metaphors, and imagery. Suffered as a child and dealt with abuse. That did not determine who she was, that's just the ugly truth. Took the story of her life and put it to good use, cause still I rise. Yup, when you believe in the power of words, you can overcome the pain by reversing the hurt. Turn the loss to a gain if you stick to the plan, cause Maya died in 2014, but her words live on through her legacy. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air rise.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. It is one of my favorites. And so this video reminds us that words are powerful. One of the best ways to kind of look a little bit closer at the words of a song, especially in vocabulary, are the printable lyrics. You can also view the lyrics just in the regular lesson sequence. And this can be a really cool way for students to connect the academic content to creative storytelling. They can get a closer look at what the lyrics are from the song. They can build their vocabulary in context with the curriculum. They can understand similes and metaphors by looking closely at the words and expose them to perfect and slant rhymes in writing. So you can view the lyrics in Flocabulary through the PDF that's here, but then you can also view the lyrics in the lesson sequence as well. So if we took a closer look at the lyrics themselves, here's an excerpt from the song. So how might these lyrics: suffered as a child and dealt with abuse, they did not determine who she was, that's just the ugly truth, took the story of her life and put it to good use, cause still I rise. How do those lyrics, how might they make an impact on your particular students? So go ahead and respond to that, taking a closer look at the actual lyrics of this Flocabulary song. Yeah, and somebody in the chat box said that that was a powerful video. Absolutely. We have a lot of really amazing and powerful videos in Flocab. Our team works really, really hard to make those videos kind of come to life and make them really powerful for both adults and students, I would say. All right, so take just a minute to respond to this. Again, looking at those lyrics specifically, how might those lyrics make an impact on your students? All right, some really great responses coming through here. So it will show that no matter what obstacles you have in life, it is up to you to overcome them. Absolutely. They can make personal connections and interpret as well as text to world connections and inspire powerful discussion around positive change. For sure, Nancy. The lyrics can teach students that no matter what their past has been, they can overcome anything. This might allow students to be inspired and find their own voice. Absolutely. Remind students that you have the power to rise above adversity, for sure. I love this image with the words here. We all go through struggles. Even if you go through struggles, you can use them as learning experiences and learn to rise above it all. So many great responses to read. Maybe take a second to read through all of these on your own, or as many as you can, and give likes or hearts to the ones that really resonate with you. Shows students that she overcame tremendous hardship and she carried on with her life and messages, for sure. So as you can see, all these great SEL skills are really coming out and, excuse me, my allergies are going crazy, coming out and shining through in this particular biography about Maya Angelou and from our historical perspectives library. So this comes from some social studies technically, but look at all these great social emotional skills that students can learn from this particular video. And Lisa, yeah, you said that too. So historical lesson as well, for sure. So they're learning history, but they're also really thinking about all these great SEL skills. Can connect with real world music and rise up. Yep, students need to know these things have happened to others. They're not alone and they can and will overcome these obstacles. Amazing. And when you're thinking about students in the world today, resilience is another really great skill to be able to teach students explicitly, give an example like Maya Angelou from her life, and then apply that to today. So not only are we talking about managing worry and how to teach students that in these times of adversity, but also resilience when faced with it in addition to that. All right, couple more seconds. They can see the importance of perseverance, absolutely. Perseverance, resilience, all those great skills. Okay, great. So let's keep talking a little bit about empowering student voice here. So we focused on the lyrics from this particular song and learning from those lyrics, but now we'll also talk about empowering student voice with the Lyric Lab. So the Lyric Lab can allow students to find confidence to speak their mind and make a positive impact. It can help them demonstrate a mastery and understanding of the topic, express themselves with words and music, and incorporate critical thinking and life skills. Our Lyric Lab is basically like a scaffolded rhyme writing tool that can allow students to build raps or rhymes or spoken word or just general writing pieces in a fun and engaging way. So when they get to the Lyric Lab, which is at the bottom of our lesson sequence, again, supposed to mirror the very top of the Bloom's Taxonomy pyramid with the create section, but they're given these lines and they can write line by line. They can use the vocab words. And on every other line, the rhyme generator will generate slant and perfect rhymes for them to continue their writing and stay in kind of the flow. At the very bottom, they can choose a beat and they can actually play that beat and practice their rhyme or their spoken word. They can even just play the music while they're writing to help kind of get themselves thinking and get into the groove. So this is a really cool way for students to show what they know, also empower their student voice, but and continue to practice their writing skills in a really structured, helpful way. Let me see if I can think of a line here that we can start with just so you see an example. So let me tell you about an amazing person, okay? So I'm starting to introduce that we're gonna be talking about Maya Angelou here. Let me tell you about an amazing person. Now I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna bring me to the next line. And here are those slant and perfect rhymes that I could utilize. So it's gonna give me the rhymes that rhyme with person, either slant or perfect. So the last word of the previous line, and it'll do this every other line so students can see, what else should I be talking about with this lesson? Maybe something like, she lived in a world that was uncertain. There we go. And next line, and so on. Whenever I use the vocab words, they'll turn blue, and students can really write amazing pieces. We've seen so many wonderful, incredible raps and writing pieces that have been submitted by students over the years. So this is a really cool tool to use with Lyric Lab to be able to empower that student voice. And you can embed a Lyric Lab activity like this into a Nearpod lesson, just like I'm showing you right now. All right, so let me give you a try now. So you just saw me write the beginning line of a Lyric Lab for Maya Angelou. And I've made it a little bit easier for you by starting it off with a line already. So the line is, I'm going to start by sharing an autobiography. That's the first line of your Lyric Lab. And now you can either type or audio respond to come up with the next line. And here in the reference image is all the slant and perfect rhymes that go along with autobiography. So I'm going to start by sharing an autobiography. Let's take a minute to write the second line of a Lyric Lab. What can you rhyme with autobiography, and what also has to do with the video and about Maya Angelou? I'm gonna give everybody a minute to do this on their own. Get your creative brains working there. All right, we've got a couple coming through here. If you're still thinking and working, that's okay. I'm seeing some love for the Lyric Lab in the chat box. Yeah, the Lyric Lab is a really amazing tool. Students really, really love it. It's a really great thing to assign as a project. So students can spend some time working on it. They can go back and continue, excuse me, continue editing and adding on to their Lyric Lab. So every time you assign a Lyric Lab or whenever they go and just access the Lyric Lab on their own, they can spend some time writing, and then it'll automatically save, and they can come back and continue the process. You can also have them do it in an open-ended question, just like you're participating in right now. So if you don't have, if you don't embed the entire Flocabulary platform and have them interact with the actual Lyric Lab itself, you can provide it to them in this way, like we're showing you in Nearpod. All right, let's look at a couple of these. So I'm going to start by sharing an autobiography. And life makes success your priority. Awesome. Which I hope will spark curiosity. That's awesome. These are great slant rhymes for autobiography. All right, about a woman with a higher philosophy. Ooh, I love that one. So I'm going to start by sharing an autobiography about a woman with a higher philosophy. That has some great rhythm to it. I love it. I also really love doing trainings on Flocabulary in person, because I often have teachers or educators go ahead and write their own Lyric Labs, and we spend a lot of time working on that and then share them out. And you'll see that even adults love sharing their Lyric Labs with each other, and really can provide the kind of sense of really building culture and providing that student voice in a safe space. And students absolutely respond amazingly to it, and so do adults. It really can make everybody feel that energy, really feel connected. It's super cool. All right, let's see if there's any more. Amazing. These are looking really great. Who changed the world with her words that became philosophy. Awesome. About a woman who may be just like you or me. I love that one too. Her work has a lot of quality. She made her family her priority. Amazing. Those could be even 2 lines. Learning about a woman with some high ideology. Great job. All right, take about 5 more seconds to finish up these amazing rhymes. Look at you, you're already Lyric Lab pros, writing in some amazing rhymes for your Lyric Lab rap or spoken word. All right, great. So we only have a couple minutes left, but I do want to show you one final lesson. This is the Frida Kahlo and self-expression lesson. If I had to choose, I think this would probably be my favorite lesson in all of Flocabulary, although it's really hard to choose. So you can take a look at how one student used the Lyric Lab to talk about this lesson. So you got to practice it on your own just now. I can show you what an entire Lyric Lab rap looks like in just a minute. But I want to show you a bit of this video from Frida Kahlo and self-expression. I don't think we have time to watch the entire thing, but I'll show you maybe just the beginning, and I would highly recommend going back to view the whole thing because it's pretty amazing.
Let me take you on a trip down memory lane. A baby screams as she's born. Life is joy, but also pain. Her dad German, her mama indigenous and Spanish. Frida would paint her cultures on the canvas. Then she got sick, got polio when she was only 6. Bullied for having a limp, bullied for having interests that were so advanced. Society told her that a girl can only have certain dreams. It made her wanna scream.
Pero Frida no era una cualquiera. Su arte representaba su vida y su bandera. Años después conoció a Diego Rivera, que pintaba un mural en su escuela. La vida buena, todo cambió en un momento con un accidente. Era tan joven, solo tuvo sus 19 años y los doctores no tenían fe. Pero fuerte fue su alma y desde la cama pintó su famosa cara.
I used to think I was the strangest person in the world, but then I thought, there are so many people in the world, there must be someone just like me. I used to think I was the just like me.
She reunites with Diego Rivera.
All right, so we got to keep moving here just because of time's sake. But again, please do go back and view that video. The animation is really incredible. I saw some people asking about access to Flocabulary. Right now, until the middle of August, you do have full free access to both platforms through the Teach Hub and through Clever. So you can have full access, and then we are keeping our fingers and toes crossed that after that you will maintain free full access, or at least paid access from the DOE as we go into the next school year. If not, there are some free videos and lessons you can access through Nearpod, or you can embed the platform from Flocabulary into Nearpod as well. You can also do a free trial with Nearpod or with Flocab, which is like 30 days, I believe, right now. And then you just copy and paste the link in. So depending on what happens after August, I will be able to instruct you all with how you should be accessing both platforms and be able to even train you more on Flocabulary if needed. There's a lot of other things that exist in the lesson sequence, etc., that you can find and that I can train you on. But I just want to mention that I would say, because you have free full access to both right now, you should take advantage of it and be able to go and create your Flocabulary account as well through the Teach Hub, which you can do. This is a recording of a lyric lab. I'll just play like a couple seconds of it.
Yo, Frida Kahlo was an artist. She was one in a million. Amazing, brilliant. This woman had a vision of pain as a youth, both social and emotional.
All right, so that's an example of how students can write their lyric labs, use the beats that we have saved in Flocabulary, and even record themselves. They can use Flipgrid, they can use other video recording tools, they can share. If you're on a Zoom, you can have kind of like a virtual rap battle, allow students to share their raps or their pieces with each other. So a lot of ways that you can utilize the lyric lab to also promote student voice and those amazing social emotional skills. You can even export the lyric lab as a PDF so they can be shared far and wide with students, teachers, admins, etc. Here are some tips on those virtual performances that I just mentioned. Not a ton of time to go into that today, but remember that you can really utilize it to just have fun and create classroom culture, no matter if you are in or out of the classroom in the fall. All right, so this is a reflection, and if you do need to go because it is 10, I totally understand. I can stay on for another couple of minutes to wrap this up and provide you with some resources, but if you do need to leave, totally understandable. If you want to stick around though, let's do a little bit of reflection. So how will you provide social emotional support to your students during school closure times or these difficult times as we look forward to the fall? And how can we at Flocabulary and Nearpod help? Also, this is a great time to ask questions. That was a great question about access. And again, you can access everything through the Teach Hub. Tiffany, so if you have more questions about that, let me know. If you go into the Nearpod library right now and you search for Flocabulary, because you have free full access through Nearpod, all of the Flocabulary videos you can embed into lessons and are free. We also have what we call kind of Nearpodized Flocabulary lessons, where we've taken the video and the content from Flocab, but we've built out a Nearpod lesson with all the activities around it. So you have access to all of those. And when the trial does end, you will continue to have access to some free Flocabulary content through Nearpod. And then if you end up getting a Flocabulary subscription, you can always embed the lessons like I've shown you today into Nearpod. But we're hoping that you will have free access to all of it throughout the rest of the year. If not, just whenever you're in the Nearpod library, even when the trial ends, search for Flocabulary in Nearpod. You'll be able to see everything that exists for you there to use. And there is a handful of free lessons. We also have, and we'll cover this next week, a racial justice folder right now in both Nearpod and Flocab. So we've made a lot of our other SEL Flocab videos and racial justice centered videos available for free through Nearpod too. So absolutely. Okay, so helping them express themselves and their feelings, give them the support they need to get through difficult times without physically being there for them, for sure. So hopefully you're able to see kind of some examples of lessons that you might be able to utilize with your students. Jackie says she's going to be sending out a follow-up email for the next sessions and the registration. along with the recording from both today and from last week. So that will be coming to you very soon. Platforms like this will be tremendously beneficial in supporting our kids. Cross your fingers, the DOE will buy in. Yep, we're working real hard over here, I promise, for both Nearpod and Flocab to make sure that all students in the DOE will have access to this for the next year. Be extremely empathetic and give them the time they need to talk about how they're feeling before diving into the academics, for sure. You could even have students just write a lyric lab about generally how they're doing, or give them a prompt that's a little bit more general, and they could use any lyric lab in the platform to write whatever it is that they're feeling. Use resources to make students aware that they are not alone, and use these tools to support them, for sure. Many opportunities for positive interaction. Incorporate social emotional learning with academic units of study, for sure. All right, thanks for reflecting on this, and if you have more reflections to share, really appreciate that. Wish we had tons more time to go through all of this, but really appreciate you sharing those beautiful reflections on social emotional learning. So just going to leave you with some additional resources. This is kind of a how-to doc, and you'll get a link to this presentation. You can watch videos on creating your classes in Flocab, managing students, viewing their work, providing feedback. There's a lot more that the Flocabulary platform can do. So if you'd like to take a step further and start learning about that, please join us for one of our other Flocabulary sessions. We have public Flocabulary trainings all the time. We offer this training publicly if you ever wanted to watch it again. And then we also have our YouTube channel that has a lot of how-to videos on there. You can also look at I would say this is the distance learning landing page for Nearpod. You can access all of our trainings here. However, if you are looking for just Flocabulary information, just go to flocabulary.com. And then we also have a nearpod.com/NYC landing page, which is where you can get access to the Teach Hub to both Nearpod and Flocab. This is a PDF one-pager and implementation guide for using Flocab for distance learning. Goes into more ways in which you can utilize when schools are closed. This is a general Flocab implementation guidebook for using Flocab for things like SEL, but also students with learning differences, ELL students, etc. And always remember to check us out on our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're always super active. I know that the social media aspect has been really helpful to kind of build a little bit of pressure within the DOE and remind them that this is something that would be really helpful for students to have and teachers to have. So if you are somebody that likes to tweet, you can always tweet at the New York City DOE. You can also always tag us for both Nearpod and Flocabulary. And if you have any questions, it's actually support@flocabulary.com. So you can always email us. Our support team is support@flocabulary.com for vocabulary related things, and then nearpod.com for Nearpod related things. And that is basically a wrap from me. I will go ahead and just leave this slide up actually. And if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat box.
I just want to say thank you so much, Jess. That was super informative, and we're happy to be partnering with you. Nearpod, Flocabulary, definitely some of the high leverage platforms that we should be consider using. Hopefully the DOE will purchase it for us this upcoming year. So I want to thank you. I'll be sending out, sorry, that's my husband making his I was sending out the recording and the registration for next week. So have a wonderful day. And again, Jess, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem at all. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you all so much. There was one question about becoming a Nearpod certified educator. If you just Google Nearpod certified educator, you will get to our application page and you will get all the information that you would need to apply and become an NCE. So just Google again, Nearpod certified educator, and that very first landing page will give you the application form for being an NCE. And Jackie will